Recap in minutes. In today's video, we will be going through a horror sci-fi film entitled 28 Weeks Later. There will be spoilers ahead, chill out and enjoy. As the spread of the rage virus continues, infected people terrorize the land of Britain, killing every survivor. Months later, American soldiers aid the remaining survivors of England. Will their help be enough to contain the virus? A group of survivors prepare for their meal at a small rural cottage at dawn. The couple Don and Alice wanders to the cellar to scavenge supplies. They worry about Tammy and Andy, their children that are away for their school trip during the pandemic. While the senior calls them to help prepare the meal upstairs while the survivors are having their sumptuous dinner, a little boy rapidly knocks at the front door, screaming for help as the infected are nearing their area. Alice's motherly instinct kicks in and immediately opens the door for the kid, and shares their food to the kid. Later, the horde of infected catches up to their location and starts banging at the barricaded doors and windows. The survivors panics as the barricades are breaking down slowly as the infected forces their way in. Don and Alice order the remaining survivors to relocate at the higher level of the cottage in order to have the higher ground. But sadly, before they relocate, the horde of infected breaks through the barricades and bites them off one by one. Don and Scarlett, alongside the kid that they have rescued, get separated as the infected rushes towards every survivor. Eventually, the couple reunites as they enter the bedroom. But they did not notice that the room is filled with infected people. But as their eyes meet, Don panics and leaves Alice and the kid as he does not want to get bitten by the infected. Alice cries for help as her husband runs towards the exit. After reaching the outdoors, Don instantly regrets his decision of leaving his wife to be eaten by the infected. He continuously runs toward the boat nearby while the horde of infected follows him from every location. Meanwhile, his wife looks at the window while screaming her husband's name. Don. As she sees her husband running away to escape. As Don reaches the dock, his friend unties the boat for escape. But the infected catches up to their location. He hops in the boat while the boat starts up for their escape. Unfortunately, the infected reaches for his friend's arms and drags him to the water. Don screams as he extends his arm to help his friend, but the infected drags him down and bites him, leaving a bloody trail. Don feels regret and cries as all his friends are dead and infected as he becomes the sole survivor of their group. Fast forward 28 weeks after, the pandemic has officially ended and the British people outside the barriers are starting to come back to their homeland. Tammy and Andy enter the screening area where American forces are helping London to recover from the pandemic and cleaning the remaining rage virus carriers by burning them in a secluded area away from the people. The soldiers scan the eyes and test the sibling alongside other people that are from the outside of the border. The scanned survivors then head back to a train where a soldier is debriefing them about the area where British people area currently living. This area has soldiers patrolling and surveying the area, who are skilled with using snipers and other higher firearms in case of an outbreak of the virus. Meanwhile, Don welcomes his children from the train station. They reunite and hug each other tightly. Don tours both Tammy and Andy around London that is free from virus outbreak. He shares that he has access to every facility and shows his ID to his children and brags about almost running the place. Later that evening, the family discusses about their mother Alice. Tammy and Andy talks about how they miss their mother and asks their father what happened to their mother while they are out in the barriers of the safe zone of the City of London. Don feels the regretful and cries as he shares to his children about their experience of hiding and trying to survive the infected horde. He also shares that their mother died as she gets bitten by the infected as they are trying to escape. The family gets emotional while Tammy and Andy plans to go out of the safe zone to go back to their old house to recover some photos of their deceased mother as a remembrance. As the following day arrives, Tammy and Andy sneaks outside of the safe zone, avoiding every soldier that is patrolling around the area. But fortunately, Doyle, a soldier whose specialty is to use the sniper, follows their trail from above. Doyle alerts his buddy Flynn that uses the helicopter for patrolling. Tammy and Andy successfully sneak out and surveys the area for a bike or a motorcycle to reach their old house. While walking, they notice a couple of old pizza delivery scooters that happens to lay down at the middle of the street. She tells Andy to stay where he is as she will find the key to one of the scooters inside the pizza place. Tammy enters the pizza place and covers her mouth and nose due to the molds and germs. She walks past tables, reaching the back door of the kitchen. She glances at the back and notices that someone is laying at the floor, and slowly approaches the man. The curious girl reaches for the keys hanging near the pocket of the man, and as she is about to grab the keys, cockroaches sprung out of the man's body, making her run fearing the cockroaches. Tammy and Andy use the scooter to travel from the safe zone to their old house to retrieve some personal belongings. Later on, they reach their house. The sibling surveys the area and reminisce the memories from their house in the past. Andy then notices that there is something wrong at one room at the second floor. Meanwhile, the authorities arrive at the location of Tammy and Andy with their helicopter and armored vehicles. While Andy enters the room, and to his surprise, his mother Alice approaches Andy and hugs him too tightly. Alice cannot control her infected instincts and have almost bitten her own son. Luckily, the authorities enters the room and contains her to screen her condition, whether she is truly an infected or not. An army medical officer, Scarlet, discovers an old bite wound on her and does a blood test. Alice has the rage virus teeming in her blood but is immune to its effects. However, she is a carrier who could infect others with her saliva or blood. The commanding officer, Stone, decides to execute Alice instead of studying her body that may help them find a cure for the virus. Meanwhile, Don sneaks into the facility where Alice is being kept. Don drops by Tammy and Andy, and they accuse him of abandoning their mother, but he wants to explain himself. After dropping by the kids, he rushes towards Alice's holding room. And as he enters the room, he tells her that he regrets leaving her to be swarmed by the infected. Don exchanges spit with Alice, but rage virus immediately infects him, causing him to lose control and crushes Alice's skull and escapes into the safe zone, killing several soldiers and infecting plenty of people. As everyone outside is getting infected, Scarlet realizes that the family of Alice can be the key to finding the cure, as they are genetically immune to the rage virus. She informs every soldier at the radio to protect Tammy and Andy, for they are the key for ending the rage virus. Scarlet rescues Tammy and Andy. She grabs them both and reminds them to stick to her, as she will bring them to safety. But as they head towards the room filled with panicking crowd of people, it separates Andy from Tammy and Scarlet. However, the infected Don has been hiding at the back room and waiting for an opportunity to attack the crowd in order to spread the virus. Andy climbs at the top of the panicking people, reaching for the air vent to escape. The panicked residents, along with the infected, escapes onto the streets of the safe zone. The authorities alerts the snipers to kill everyone that is moving to avoid the spread of the rage virus. Meanwhile, Scarlet and Tammy make it into a storehouse along with Andy and a few other survivors, including one of the snipers, Doyle, who left his post when he chooses to kill only the infected rather than the civilians, where he follows Andy to the storehouse. He informs everyone that the army will kill them too unless they can escape the city and relocate somewhere safe. Doyle leads the survivors through the streets. Little did they know, Don is following them, as he is still a bit conscious. A radio transmission comes in where Doyle contacts the helicopter pilot, Flynn, who warns them to get out of the safe zone as soon as possible, due to the decision of the authorities to bomb the area. After sneaking around the authorities, the group makes it into an alleyway where an amateur sniper hitting Scarlet and Doyle at their legs. Doyle points out that the sniper is still a newbie as he clicks the trigger to fast and uses 3 bullets at a time. Doyle then devises a plan where he will use someone as a bait while running zigzags while he sets up to shoot the sniper for them to successfully escape the alley. A survivor gets furious as Doyle is going to use them as a decoy that will get them killed, but Andy decides to run in zigzags, getting the attention of the sniper, allowing Doyle to get a clean shot of the enemy. After escaping the sniper, Doyle and his group makes it outside to an abandoned park where they rest and wait for Flynn's update to where they will meet. The injured Scarlet tells Doyle that her theory is that Tammy and Andy's genetic code may provide a cure for the rage virus. She tells him to protect them at all cost and makes them the top priority among the survivors. Finally, Flynn radios Doyle to wait for the helicopter in abandoned park. And when he arrives, Flynn lands the helicopter and notices a lot of survivors with Doyle. He refuses to take anyone other than Doyle. But unfortunately, the infected appears and surrounds the area. Flynn flies his helicopter towards the infected and tilts the helicopter, cutting the infected. Doyle and Scarlet take Tammy and Andy into the city where the military is preparing for smoking and burning any remaining infected individuals. They all agree to meet Flynn at a near sports stadium where he will fly them to safety on the other side of London City, where everyone is safe from the rage virus. The group heads to the path towards the stadium. They've successfully covered their trail to make some time and rest from escaping the infected. And as they reach an alley, the soldiers arrive at the scene and prepares to kill the infected with poison gas and flamethrowers. As they notice the poison gas spreading, Scarlet and Doyle orders Tammy and Andy to get into the nearest car that they can open. Scarlet pops the clutch, and the car won't start. But Doyle decides to push the car while she continuously starts the car. The car finally runs. Scarlet steps on the gas to escape the army, while the army did not hesitate to pull the trigger of the flamethrower and incinerating Doyle. While the helicopters arrive the scene, Scarlet continues to drive the car into a subway station. They leave the car and decides to walk through the path towards the train tracks to the sports stadium. Although it is pitch dark, Scarlet assures to the kids that she can see at the dark using the night vision on Doyle's rifle to guide them. As they traverse the subway, Tammy and Andy trips over some corpses while going down the escalator. They fall and loses sight of Scarlet. Tammy and Scarlett try to find Andy, but suddenly the infected Don appears from the rear and beats Scarlett to death with Doyle's rifle. After dealing with Scarlett, he then rushes towards Andy, tackles him and bites him. Tammy grabs the rifle of Doyle and shoots Don in order to save Andy. After being bitten by Don, Andy appears to be normal and immune just like his mother and panics as he thinks that he will bite his sister, but Tammy disregards the fact that her brother is infected and believes that he is completely normal. After the emotional encounter with their father, the children continue to sports stadium and meets up with Flynn. He trusts Doyle's decision and puts away his gun as he can't bring himself to shoot two harmless children. He flies them across the other side of London while Flynn is unaware that Andy is technically infected with rage virus. And after some time, the helicopter crashes down and lets the rage virus reinfects people, starting another pandemic. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this and to help the channel grow.